Welcome to the DJ the Money Coach Expert Interview Series, the Leadership Edition. My name is Nick, and as always, I'm joined by the founder of the 7 Spheres of Money, DJ the Money Coach. How you doing today, DJ?
Hey, Nick, man, I'm doing great, man. It's day 6 in heaven on the beaches of the World Club and living the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, peace of mind. How you doing out there in New Jersey, Nick?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, but not as great as you. You know, I should be living that pom-pom lifestyle, but the good news is I'm on that journey, and soon I'll be living that pom-pom lifestyle as well. You know, so so who are we talking to today? Who's our expert, DJ?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, this guy right here is about what me, you, and Dr. George Fraser talked about last night. He's in the C-suite, right where the power is being made. It's like what Marshall Taggart talked about, from the streets to the C-suite. This is one of my good friends who's in the C-suite. He's making impact in the community. He's serving the community. He's a banker. He's a great dad. He's a great husband, and he's a strong black man. He's also an alumni of HBCU, just like you, Nick. I mean, man, I'm bringing the power, baby. So all about the C-suite players and the ones that can make impact, and we can have, you know, equity and ownership instead of stop begging for stuff. Because like Dr. George Fraser said yesterday, you know what? We can't expect somebody to take care of us. We got to take care of ourselves. So this gentleman here,
this is true.
Applewhite, he's senior vice president of a major bank. And the bank is First National Bank Convenience of Texas. And he's been with the bank for over a decade. And he's risen up the ladder based on his merit, not because of the color of his skin. And Glenn and I, we go back about 2 years now, and Glenn and our sons play baseball together, play select baseball together. And I'm going to bring Glenn on and let Glenn tell his story. And before I say that, if you guys don't know me, I'm DJ the Money Coach. My story is real simple. I had a 525 credit score. I had $40,000 worth of consumable debt coming out of college. I had got turned down for my first mortgage, and I got turned down for a small business loan, all in the same time frame coming out of college. But I read one book. It was called The Road to Wealth. I actually read the chapter about credit. Within reading that chapter, I applied 2 dirty words: accountability and discipline, not victimhood. And within 12 months, I took my credit score to 700. Within 24 months, my credit score went to over 800. Right now, today, my credit score is 806. And it's been like that for 15 consecutive years. In 2002, I became consumer debt free. I paid off all the student loans, all the consumer debt, over $50,000. In 6 years, I became financially independent in America with a strong 6-figure income and a 7-figure net worth through businesses, real estate, and dividend stocks. But not about me. What I'm most proud of is that I've helped and sat down with 20,000 people in 2 decades. That's 20 years. Help them become consumer debt free and financially independent in America. And this is one of the reasons, because in the 7 spheres of money, you have to have experts surrounded by you and create a symphony. So one of those experts is in banking. His name is Glenn Applewhite. Glenn, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, DJ. First of all, I want to thank you and your audience for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys about banking and finance. And, you know, one of the things that you just mentioned about credit, you know, credit is very important. And in the banking industry, you know, we look at your credibility or your credit is pretty much your word. You know, your ability to take on, you know, debt obligations, whatever, and then pay those things back, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. And I tell people all the time working in the banking industry, we don't necessarily care. We'll give you the money, and we don't have a problem with that. But we just want to make sure you have the ability to repay the money. So that's one of the key things in the banking industry, and that's why credit is so important, especially in our communities.
Man, that's amazing, and that's what we want to talk. That's what we want to talk about. So, Glenn, tell us your backstory, because here's what I also want to share in these interviews today. And we're dealing with a couple of other people that are in the financial industry like yourself that looks like us, Glenn. I know for a fact in 20 years, this is the rule in our community. It's not the exception to the rule, because we have a narrative when you turn on the television, the internet, the radio, that, you know, Black people and Black men specifically, the narrative is that we're lazy, we're shiftless, and we always playing the blame game. I've never had that experience personally. I've had obstacles, and like Dr. George Fraser said yesterday, that was just God showing me how to build a tool and a mindset to be able to do the work that God called me to do. So with that said, Glenn, tell us your backstory and the template of how you got involved and what's your education, and start from there if you can, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Well, my backstory, I'm originally from a small town in Mississippi, Indianola, Mississippi, and I grew up in a real small town, rural town, rural industry, and a lot of farming, and probably a town of maybe 15, 20,000 people. I grew up in a town that was segregated. You had the majority of the African-American kids, they went to one school, and you had the other kids in the city that went to another school. So, unfortunately, segregation is something that I'm not necessarily talking about, but I live. But what you have to do, you can't use those type of things as excuses, throughout your life. So you just have to rise above those things. And so, grew up there in Mississippi. I was a fairly competitive guy, and so I played some athletics. And I was fortunate enough to get a athletic scholarship to play football at one of the universities there, Alcorn State University there, and in Mississippi, home of the Braves, with a rep at Alcorn. And so, went there, played football there, and I used that scholarship and I used my athletic ability as a tool to get me where I wanted to be at in life. And that's what we have to look at. We have to utilize the tools and abilities that we have to look at, okay, where we are now, and then we have to set goals and make a decision where we want to be, okay? And then once you set those goals, once you set those strategies, and then you have to put systematic, things in place. And, you just have to grind each and every day, just kind of working towards your goals, not losing sight of the mission and the vision that you have for yourself. And I think that like you, and probably a lot of your listeners, we're all gonna have to deal with obstacles in our life. But, what I love to say, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to the things that happen to you in life. So I did fairly well there. I finished college, and I relocated. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee for a little while. I did some graduate school work there at Tennessee State University, and then during that period of time, obviously, being in college, you're one of those struggling college kids, right? So, needed a job, and so I started working for a financial services institution, and then transitioned from banking, from that into banking. Just to add, I was an economics major in college, so I kind of always just had a propensity to learn about commerce and finance and all those type of things. It's just kind of, actually, my mother worked at a bank, growing up when I was a kid. So I think it just kind of got ingrained into me at a very early age. And she taught me a lot about banking and finance and managing your money. I saw her grow up and work extremely hard to provide for me, because I'm a product of a single mother home. Single parent household, and so, but she didn't allow those things to set limits or barriers on her and me, and I have to do the same thing for my kids, and that's what we have to do, the same things for our communities. Don't let anyone set standards for yourself, right? So you got to set your own standards. So just working extremely hard. I was very fortunate. A lot of opportunities were presented to me. I grew up very faith-based. I think that has a lot to do with my upbringing and my ground and just being grounded. I had a lot of praying mothers and aunts and uncles. Back in those days, it takes a community to they say it takes a village to raise a child. So I had a lot of people, a lot of great people that were influential in my life, and that has helped me to be the person that I am today.
So with that said, because yeah, man, I had that same experience, Glenn. I several times in my adolescent years was single family. I went from was raised, had a mother and father. My mother and father got divorced. And we went from living what I call a Cosby lifestyle to living straight up in a 1-bedroom apartment, me, my mother, and my sister, roaches, rats infested. But my mother was like, you know what, this is just a moment in time. We got a trajectory that God is put in front of us, and we're going to get this work. We're not going to complain about it. But we see all too often today, man, that, you know, people immediately got their hand out and they got that welfare mentality. But like you said, your mom had a plan of action, didn't complain, and said, you know, put that work in. When was the first time your mother actually opened up a savings or checking account for you, or literally told you about money? But I know you learn more from her, you know, doing it, because, you know, they say, you know, we do what we see, not what we told. When do you remember that?
You know what, and this is probably going to become as a surprise. I think I can remember, I probably opened my first savings account when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And a lot of people, and I'm in the banking industry, and I interact with adults all the time who they've never had a banking account, and they're in their 30s and 40 years old. So, my mother, opening that savings account for me and just kind of showing me how banking works, saving is just so important. She, and one of those things about saving is it's a skill, it's a habit that you have to develop over time. So I think that early introduction into saving and really helped me throughout my adult career. And that's something that I'm a huge advocate for. You have to, as a parent, have those tough conversations with your kids, and those conversations really need to start very early in their life, about saving, about investing, about insurance, about all these things that sometimes, unfortunately, they're not necessarily taught in school. But we can't put everything on our educational system. We have to take control of a lot of those things when it comes to teaching our kids about finance and banking.
Right, so it's not necessarily the institution's responsibility to raise your children.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's your responsibility to raise your own kids, right?
So talk to us a little bit about what type of banking that you guys actually do and what your responsibilities are. And tell us, how you started and how did you climb up the ladder where the mileposts were, and what somebody else can follow that same template, Glenn.
Right, absolutely. So, my current position, I'm the regional manager, senior vice president here in the Houston area. And so I have about 45 banks that we're responsible for. Primarily, our locations are inside of Kroger's, Walmart, and H-E-B. We're considered a retail institution, a retail bank. And so, we help people achieve their financial goals and dreams, by offering checking accounts, saving account products, auto loans, mortgages, insurance. We're a full service bank. So, we cover the whole gamut. And so that's kind of my responsibility. I have over probably about 300 employees that I'm responsible for in a territory from Houston all the way down to Corpus Christi, Texas, Victoria, Texas, Lake Jackson, Galveston, kind of that area. So if you live in the Houston area, that's kind of the territory that I'm responsible for. But yeah, my current role, I started from the bottom. Now I'm here. They should make a song about that, right?
That's great. Started from the bottom.
Exactly. But listen, so I started I was a floating teller for an in-store institution. So
Wait a minute, you came out of college and you were a teller, and now you are senior vice president over 45 banks.
Dude, you have to crawl before you
walk. They gave you that,
know.
right, Glenn? They gave you that, right?
No, they didn't give it to me. They didn't give it to me. No,
come on now.
I started as a floating teller. I was floating around to different in-store locations, working there, and just wanting to learn more about investing and finance and banking, and just say, I'm just going to make this a career and just working extremely hard. I think when I first started, maybe let me go back a second. When I first started in the banking, I probably didn't see it as a career. I just thought, hey, I needed a job because I needed to pay, take care of myself, and I was a struggling kid in school, and so. But the more that I learned about banking and just how important finance is to people, and just especially people of color, and the ability to help people, I thought was just so important. A lot of people, they don't know about banking. They don't know about how things work. And so, I was in a position to empower people to learn about a segment of the economy that they didn't know a lot about. Because a lot of times people are afraid of things that they don't know and they don't understand. So when you start to educate people, you start to talk to them about financing, and this is how credit works, and this is how banking works, and you need to save, and you need to invest, and all these type of things, it just opens their eyes, and you just have that. And just doing that over and over and over again, I just felt empowered. I was like, hey, you know what? This is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people achieve their financial dreams and goals. And banking gives me that platform.
So when you were doing that, starting as a teller, when did you know that, you know what, I can actually make a good living doing this? Because it definitely wasn't at the teller position. And when did you buckle down and say, you know what, I can be in the C-suite?
Right. So to kind of give you a little bit of backstory, so I got into banking, and I did that for a short period of while, and then I started to learn about investing in stocks and bonds and that type of stuff. So I worked for a bank for a short period of time, and I became I sold investment products like mutual funds and variable annuities. I had security license, whatever. So I did that for a while, which I really loved. I enjoyed because I started to learn so much about banking and finance and all the things that I've learned over the years. So I did that for a while. Then I just kind of make a decision, this is great, but I think I can do more. I think I can contribute more to my community. I want to teach my family. I want to teach other people around me. And I think I can do that if I transition from production, where I was at, into leadership. And so I started to learn more about leadership. And I said, you know what, I want to be a manager. I want to teach people what I know. Because I tell you what, it was extremely difficult, and when I was, talking to a lot of people about investing in finance, because as you can see, I'm African American, right? Probably 95% of my clients and customers were not Black. And so it really
when you were on the security side, that's what you're talking about?
I was on the security side, exactly.
Right, because of course, I lived in that same world. And
right.
I don't want to interject here, but I do. But I want to point out to people who are watching this and listening that you took a pay cut to lead a security business to come back into banking, because you know how I know? I give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count, Nick, because I did the same thing. I mean, our trajectory being independent wealth managers would make 7 figures in and of itself with our skill sets and our work ethic. But to take a step back and go into banking to help your community, man, I mean, why did you make that sacrifice, Glenn? Because I know I made it because I had experience. My mom was a victim of predatory lending. My mother was a victim of identity theft. So instead of me going out and making the millions of dollars every year, managing people that had to have at least a $5 million net worth, I decided to start the 7 Figures of Money system back in 2002. So why did you, take that step back and give up all them riches for you and your family to go back into community service banking? Why is that important? Why did you do it?
Well, you know what? I think it's a few different things I think that kind of led me to that realization. First and foremost, I didn't see a lot of people such as myself in those leadership positions, right? And I said that, if I don't see those people there, I don't have representation there, and I told myself, why not me? Why not try to strive to achieve and grow and be on some of these boards or try to make it to the C-suites? So I think there may have been a little selfish ambition there as well, but it wasn't unbridled, ambition. But I just told myself, you know what, this is something that I want to do. I think I can do well at it, and I was fairly successful at selling securities, because you got to think about it, to get someone to invest $100,000 into you, into this, people, and I tell people this: people are emotionally attached to their money, right? You can do a lot of things to people, to someone, but if you mess with their money, right, they will go, they will go postal.
Exactly.
As some people say, right? So, I think I did fairly well of, connecting with people and building a relationship with people, getting them to trust me and to buy into me and the products and services that I was offering. I could show them how, if you let me take this investment, in 10 years or 15 years and 20 years, based on this hypothetical, this is where you can be. And so they saw past my color and they saw, my potential. And so I think that has helped me along the way. And I said, I just wanted to continue to grow in that area and help as many people as I could, along the way.
Yeah, so you produce
results. I hope that answers your question. Yes,
yeah, I mean,
results,
you produce results. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, again, we were interviewing Dr. George Fraser yesterday. He said at the end of the day, it's about results. You're going to have some obstacles, but if you ain't producing results, it don't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Mediterranean, you ain't going to be there a long period of time at the end of the day. So I noticed that one thing that you and I was like-minded is when we would be at the baseball games, you would have a book in your hand, and then I may have read the book. So I know you are a big, advocate on reading.
Yes.
What propelled you to do so much reading after you got out of college? Because when I got out of college, man, I didn't want to see a book.
I know.
I know the power of reading versus turning on this medium, the internet, television. So why are you an avid reader, and why would it be important for that sophomore in high school, that junior in high school, that freshman in college, that sophomore in college, that black woman, that black man, to continue to read and read what particular things? Can you talk to that for a second for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was kind of, I probably had the same mindset as you. Once I finished college, I thought that, okay, I don't ever have to pick up a book anymore. But you quickly find out that you're in a constant state of learning. And you have to continue to develop yourself, to learn about new trends or new techniques. If you want to stay current in the industry, especially in the securities industry, you have to do continuing education. You have to stay on top of that stuff. It was required. If you didn't, you could lose your license, whatever. So just continuing education just became a part of me. And as I started to move up in positions of leadership, I found out that you can learn so much from so many individuals who have gone before you. And it's easy to learn those things if you just pick up a book. A lot of times people tell you their life story and they'll sell it to you for $10 on Amazon. And you can learn so much from some of the brightest and smartest leaders of the world. So so when I was learning different type of management techniques or conflict resolution or goals and strategies, whatever, I would I just immerse myself in leadership. From people like John Maxwell to Stephen Covey, all of these people who've been around. And what happens is you read about this guy and then he turns you on to someone else, and then you read about him, and he turns you on to someone else. And so, you just learn all these leadership tools and techniques, and then you start to apply them to your everyday routine. And then it started to make my job easier and started to make it fun and started to make it more fulfilling. And I said, you know what? All these leadership techniques that I'm learning all this great knowledge from these individuals. And so I thought it was my responsibility to try to help and grow and develop and coach people up that are younger than me, help them along the way so they can be in my position one day. Not even be in my position, but far surpass me.
So did you have the fortunateness to have a mentor in the banking industry? Did you have one? Did you have two? We had our buddy Eric on the platform just the other day, and he talked about the importance of mentorship. He also talked about leadership without dollars, how to be able to stretch a penny into a dollar personally and in the C-suite. How about you? I mean, what say you? Who was that person that put them wings underneath your feet in the banking industry outside of your mom? Because there's no way you could accelerate all the way up to the top of the food chain without some type of help, because no man's an island.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There were multiple people that have helped me throughout my banking career. One of the young ladies when I first started working for one of the financial institutions, her name was Alina Gonzalez. She was my branch manager, and she actually gave me opportunities. I was raw, I didn't know a lot. She said, you know what, I'm going to give you this opportunity. And she helped me along my way. She taught me a lot about leadership and just learning, and just the way that she communicated with people, and just that, the customer service. She taught me a lot of those things. And then when I transitioned, I left that organization and I moved to the organization that I'm working for right now. I can tell you there have been multiple people that have invested in my life, from a mentor of mine, Mr. Darrell Harris, to my current boss, Mr. Brandon Benavides, to Jennifer Puckett and James Cheedy and Kim Jacko. I'm telling you, all these people that have helped me throughout my career, and that I'm in the position that I am because of those people. They invested in me and they trusted in me and they believed in me. And so, and once you have that type of buy-in from someone, you don't want to let those individuals down, right? And so there have been a number of people that have really helped me throughout my career.
So conversely, are you mentoring some young people? Do you guys have internship programs available? And we had a conversation last Thursday, and it was off on the side. And if you allow us to talk a little bit about that, I would like to have some insights about what your boss asked you as a Black man. But are you doing a mentorship program outside of mentoring your children who are well-adjusted?
Yeah, so in our organization, we have mentorships programs, kind of like in-house programs where we develop our people. If they come in as a personal banker level position, we have where they have career progressions throughout the organizations, all the way from our personal banker level positions all the way to our branch manager positions. We have senior branch manager positions. So we do a lot of, we invest in our people a lot, just, with a lot of training, online training, virtual training, CBTs, computer-based trainings. And so, yeah, we do a lot of that in our organization. And I've been a benefactor of that. Definitely, I have.
Okay, that's cool. So I'm a junior, sophomore in college right now.
Okay.
And I'm deciding that I want to get into the banking industry. What are two, three things I should start doing right now, Glenn, today, in terms of putting myself in position for interview, for internship, or just making myself competitive, just other than, getting straight A's and whatever the curriculum is? What would you recommend that young lady or that young man start doing right now in the summer of 2020 and their junior year in college, and they're deciding to go into the banking industry?
Well, I would definitely encourage that person to obviously do some research on the industry that they want to go in. Banking has many facets. You have retail banking, you have investment banking, you have commercial banking, you have trust departments. So there's so many different areas that you can really concentrate in. So I would definitely encourage them to figure out, kind of where their skill set, just, kind of, what they lean toward. And then, banking is all about relationships. And that's what I tell people. I think in any business is all about relationship. So try to connect with one of those organizations. They may have an internship program there. They may have internships. They may have community-based events that you can get a part of, and you can go to those events and you can meet those people that are in those positions. Just reach out to the recruiters. Maybe go to the company's website, find out who's the president and CEO or HR. Maybe send those people just a quick email. Say, hey, I'm interested in working for your organization. Who can I contact? You'll be surprised on what type of responses you will receive if you just reach out to people and you just ask them for their help. So just do your research. Try to get involved with those organizations as best as possible, just depending on what type of avenue you have to get in, and just make sure you got to put the work in. You're only going to get out of it what you really put into it. So working extremely hard. Good grades. Grades are great, and continue education. Everybody want to be a straight A student, but also you have to learn those soft skills. Just making sure that you're being kind. Kindness goes so far in business, and I think sometimes that's a art form that sometimes is lost. But just making sure you're working on those soft skills. and you can work on those each and every day. Just talking to your, if I'm, if I'm a college kid, just interacting with my friends each and every day. Interacting with people that work at the lunch, at the lunch line or the financial aid line, just being nice. And you can just do little things like that to harness your skills. So when you transition into the real world, it'll be a smoother transition for you.
So basically, you're talking about an acronym that I talked about in my first book, the ABCs of Wealth, the Common Sense Strategy to Build an American Dream. And basically it's called FORM. FORM. When you speak to people, you talk to them sincerely about their family, their occupation,
Right.
recreation, and their message. And people's number one subject is themselves. So one thing my sons is, hey, make sure you give somebody a genuine compliment about them. And when you come back and see them again, to say, hey, Glenn, how's your wife? How's your daughter? How's your son doing? You don't have to go down the rabbit hole deeply, but show a genuine concern. And we don't teach those soft skills in any institution that I'm aware of. I mean, what did you learn about these soft skills?
You know what? I think I just learned it over time. It's one of those things that I think I was just taught up. I grew up in the South, and so we always approach. I was always respectful to my mother because I know she worked so hard, and I just had so much, respect and admiration for her. And she just always told me, you treat people with respect. You treat, someone who's older like your dad. You treat someone younger like your sister. A lady like your sister. I just kind of grew up that way, and it was just, it was just a part of me. And so, and I think it allowed me to transition to this particular role. And I don't look at it as I'm being, when I address people who are younger than me as sir.
Yeah, I've seen it many times.
It's just a part of me. And again, it doesn't think that I'm, I don't think less of myself. I just think more of that individual. And again, it's just showing people respect. Again, that just goes so far in life.
Man, you know what, Nick? This is the rule that I talk about. There's 3 rules, Glenn, that I tell people about in business that are apparent in every business and every relationship. The first rule is the silver rule. And this is what most 98% of corporate America apply. They do the least they have to do business with you. They don't offend you, but they don't make you feel good about getting your money. That's the silver rule. The second rule is the one that everybody knows about. They think is the best rule, the golden rule. Do unto others the way you want to have done unto yourself. That's a great rule. But you know what? The rule that's most important, the one you talk about when you tell people, hey, how you doing, sir? If they're younger than you, how you doing, ma'am? If they're younger, it's called the platinum rule. And I coined this and I trademarked this as well. So the platinum rule is this, Glenn. You like your favorite car. I got $50,000. I'm going to buy you the car. What kind of car is that, Glenn?
50 grand. Let's say a Honda Accord.
Okay, well, let's say $100,000. What car I'm buying you, Glenn?
Oh, 100 grand. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I get a nice Porsche.
Okay, cool. So Glenn wants a Porsche. I got $100,000, Nick. But you know what? I like the Lexus SC430. But I told Glenn I was going to take care of him because it's my $100,000. So I roll up to Glenn's house. I give him the SC430 Midnight Blue with DJ the Money Coach on it, but it's his. Now, Glenn, he's excited, but he's not overwhelmed because he likes the Porsche. So here's the platinum rule, Nick and Glenn. I roll up to Glenn's house in the color Porsche, the model that he wants with his personalized plate on it. That's the platinum rule. And that's what Glenn is talking about. And if you apply that, you'll never go wrong in life when treating people, because I have different likes than Glenn has, but I got to give Glenn what Glenn likes if I'm really trying to serve him to the best of my ability. So, we don't have much time left. So, Glenn, here's what I want to ask you real quickly, if you don't mind, because you're in the C-suite, and you told me your owner of your bank asked you a very important question about what's going on right now and how can they be on the right side of the equation. And can you give us a little insight, because you're a person that can make things happen? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the wake of everything that's going on with the protests of George Floyd and protests, and a lot of organizations are trying to wrap their hands around what can they do to move or push the conversation forward when it comes to race relations, in this country. And, it's a real tough question because, sometimes, things are so systemic, and they're systemic because, they're ingrained in the fabric of sometimes institutions, and sometimes they just don't realize that that certain people have an advantage. They have certain privileges, and it's privileges that they've had for years and years and years and years, and sometimes they don't see it, they don't recognize it, and so so as organizations, sometimes you have to ask yourself, well, what can I do to help my employees who are of color, so they can continue to move up and grow, and they can be in a lot of these positions, the C-suites in organizations. So I think that you really have to, I think as an organization, you have to think about what type of organization you want to be. Do you want to be an organization that's inclusive, you're for all of your employees, and growing people and developing people and treating people fairly or equally, or do you just want to continue to do things the way you've been doing, just the status quo? So I know our organization, we're putting together a committee, and we're going to really look at some things that we're doing, doing as a company. Again, we're putting a team together, and to see what we can do to help young people of color continue to grow and grow in the financial industry.
Yeah, I mean, because you're in a rare position. I mean, you're in a position to hire employees, right. And like you and I talked about, I think even more importantly, I would encourage you to talk with your owners about doing business with people who own businesses as vendors. I mean, because it ain't every day that somebody like you that looks like me is in that position of power to actually level the playing field or flatten the curve. And that's a responsibility that even you and I talked about, that it's imperative that you are in this role to help open some of those doors of people who are qualified. I'm not giving somebody an opportunity just because of color of skin, but they're qualified. And you and I both know, out of 42 million Black people in America, there's definitely some qualified people in the banking industry that can do vendor B2B relationships with not only your bank, but every bank across the country, every industry across the country. We just got to have more Glenn Applewhites in the C-suite that actually can make that, decision, and actually talk to the owners to say, look, here's a list of qualified people. All we deserve and all they deserve is an interview, and then look at the results that they can provide for it. So I encourage you to do that. And I definitely, man, fired up about you coming on to our platform. 30-second wrap up, Glenn. Give us 3 tips and 1 book that every person could benefit from and get on the way to that pom-pom lifestyle and have that Beaches of the Month Club experience like you and I.
Well, one of the things that, I'm a big John Maxwell fan, and he's written a lot of books throughout the years. One of my favorite quotes from Maxwell, and it is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You got to make sure that you connect with people. And, you can be the smartest person in the room or what have you, but if people don't genuinely think that you care about them, as an individual, then there's no relationship. I think in business, I think one thing you need to you really need to think about is trust is very important when it comes to any type of business. If you don't have trust, there's no relationship without trust. And if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. So just making sure that anything that you do each and every day, you do with honesty and integrity, and you put 110% into everything that you do. I'm a spiritual guy, so I look at things that I may not necessarily be working for my boss, and I'm not doing this for boss. I'm doing this for my Heavenly Father, right? So I'm gonna put 110% into everything that I do because I'm representing Him. One of the first books that I received one of the first books I read on leadership, it was John Maxwell, and it was It
Was it the
escapes me
21
right now.
irrefutable laws
The
of leadership?
21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Oh, thank you so much. You saved me. Yes, that was actually one of my very first leadership books that I read, and I'll tell you what. Ever since then, I just got hooked, and I absolutely love it. And so I've been just a student of leadership ever since then.
Man, that's my #1 guy on leadership, John C. Maxwell. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and his program came through my church and also through a business organization. I've been a Enjoy Club member ever since 1999, brother.
Nice, good.
Tapes and the CDs every month, which now is MP3. So
Right.
hey, man, your time is very important. I appreciate it. We got a little bit behind, but hey, man, I want to thank you for coming out on the platform on such a short notice. I want to wish you continued success. And Nick, this is the new acronym, and this guy embodies it. It's called HIM. Check this out, Glenn. I got a new acronym. I always got to come up with sayings. DJ is, you're him. And H is for humility. I is for integrity. And M is because you're a real black man. And I bow down and I, praise the work that you put in because you are him. And I see the fruit on your tree with your beloved wife and your beautiful sons and daughter, man. Keep putting that work in. Nick, give us 15, 30 seconds of what you learned from this awesome winner in our community who is out there putting that work in every day.
Hey, well, I'm in good company because DJ, the money coach, actually recommended some John Maxwell to me. So back in February, I read Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, and I have How Successful People Think in my library behind me as well. What I love about these interviews is that our experts are telling us about their professional expertise in their specific field, but they're also giving us lessons on transferable and universal lessons that we can apply to any field or industry. So just to name a few, the importance of learning from others that came before us, because they already did what we want to do. They already made mistakes. So why don't we just take the lessons from them? Number two, yes, we will run into obstacles, but we have to grind every day and stay focused on our goals. And number three, we have to set our own standards. Don't allow anyone else to set our standards for us. So Glenn, thank you for those lessons and the many others that you've given us in our audience. And thank you for joining us. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. This has been outstanding. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, teaching people about finance and investing. One of the conversations that every parent needs to have with their kids is really talking about money and how important money is and what it can do for you if you know the strategies and the tools and the techniques and you have the knowledge and the understanding. And so what you're doing right now, DJ, is teaching people about probably one of the most important things in life. I rank money right up there with air and water. And so it's very, very, very important.
Man, hey, I appreciate that. Hey, you know how we close this out all the time, Nick? So I want everybody to know that this is the narrative in our community, and this is the norm. Exceptional black men doing exceptional work is the norm in our community. And even when they came from a broken single-family home, they did not become the victim. They became victorious. So I'm going to leave you with this saying here. It's called Veni Vidi Vici. It's Latin. I came, I saw, I conquered. And at the end of the day, that will lead you to the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. And again, ladies and gentlemen, come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. I certainly know everybody out there can have this lifestyle. All you need is a team, a goal, and execution, and mastery of those two dirty little words. Accountability and discipline. And I appreciate you. Thanks a lot, Glenn. We'll see you next time on DJ the Money Coach Financial Expert Series interview. Peace.